World of Warcraft, the most popular MMORPG of all time. Currently there are multiple versions of the game available to play, and perhaps the most intense is Hardcore WoW, the challenge where you have only one life, and if your character dies, you lose hours upon hours of progress. I've wanted to try the hardcore servers ever since they dropped, but to be honest, I couldn't ever bring myself to give it a fair shot. The thought of losing my character permanently to a disconnect was always enough to keep me away. Recently I saw Mad Season's hardcore challenge where he doesn't spend any gold, which means he can't buy gear or even train new spells. I thought it was a cool idea, and because I didn't want to do an exact copy, I decided to come up with a challenge of my own. What better way to do my first hardcore run than to give myself even more constraints and make this already difficult challenge even harder on myself. After some thought, I finally came up with the Slotlocked challenge, and here are the rules. Starting at level 1, I'll have one bag slot and one gear slot. The gear slot that is unlocked can be any slot of my choosing. Every 5 levels, I'll unlock one more gear slot and one more bag slot. Quest items aren't exempt from the rule either, which means if a quest requires 3 slots and you only have 2 available, well, you're out of luck. It's pretty simple really, but if you've played WoW, and particularly classic WoW, you know how amazing it feels to get a new piece of gear, and we've all had that same experience of carrying around that same health potion or whatever for just in case for 10 levels.
Oh dude, 4 strength, 4 stam, leather belt. Level 18.
I won't have that same luxury in this challenge, and I'll have to decide whether each item I see is worth picking up, or if what I'm already carrying is worth more. Because I'm going to have limited bag space and gear equipped throughout the challenge, the class that I play is going to be even more important than usual, as well as the race. I ruled out the melee classes like Warrior and Rogue first because they're so gear dependent. This left me with the casters, priest, mage, druid, shaman. Ultimately I decided on druid because they can kinda do it all. Being able to cast spells as well as become a bear or cat whenever I need to will be really beneficial. Also, probably the biggest benefit is being able to heal myself, which will be really important because I'll have limited backspace and I'm not always going to have healing potions and food. Deciding on druid left me with 2 choices for my race, Night Elf and Tauren. Night Elves can turn invisible every now and then with Shadow Melt, which I'll be able to stealth in cat form eventually. They also have an increased dodge chance, which is nice. They move faster when they're dead, which isn't really much of a help considering not dying is the whole goal of the challenge. They're resistant to nature damage, and they dance like Michael Jackson. On the other hand, Tauren have an AoE stun, their max health is increased, and they can pick flowers really well. They also have the same nature resistance as Night Elves. Not to mention they do the peanut butter jelly time dance, if any of you even remember that video. Now, considering that the 2 Night Elf racial abilities are pretty much useless to me, and I'll get the same nature resistance buff as either a Night Elf or a Tauren, the choice is pretty clear. The 5% health buff and AoE stun aren't a massive advantage, but they could be the difference between me completing this run or dying. And after one randomized name later, Quanawanu was born. The first thing to do was to clear my bags and delete all my gear. The first gear slot that I chose was my weapon slot. Even though I'll be doing a lot of casting, I'll still be doing a lot of melee as well. And considering that I might not always have room for drinks to regenerate my mana, I think it's a good idea to have my weapon slot be the first one that I unlock. Now, when I was coming up with the challenge, I did have the thought of quests that require items in order to complete them. Originally I was thinking of having quest items be exempt from the bag space rule, but ultimately I decided that that went against the heart of the whole challenge. I also figured that I probably would at least hit level 5 and have another bag slot open before I ran into this issue. The thing is, I totally forgot that the very first quest in the Tauren starting zone requires you to pick up 2 items. Yeah, I guess I'm grinding to level 5 before I can even finish the first quest. About 30 minutes later, and after slaughtering countless birds, cougars, and pigs, I finally hit level 5 and I unlocked my second bag slot. This also meant that I could unlock a gear slot of my choosing. After getting my second bag slot opened up, I quickly did the quest where you have to take the water from the well up to the chief. This gave me 40 copper. Not being able to pick up any trash items until now meant that the only money I had earned was from this quest. On my way back to finish killing the birds so I could complete the first quest, I saw another druid named Dingleweed. I figured that this was the perfect opportunity to potentially get my first piece of gear. After a little bit of RP, I was able to convince him to give me his robe for 10 copper. Was his robe worth 10 copper? No. Was it a fun interaction? Yeah. And with that done, my second gear slot was now filled. I finished getting all the bird feathers and the meat, and I turned in the quest. It was time to meet with the druid trainer now, and yeah. I can see already how not having room to pick up and sell trash items is already affecting me. The only spell I could afford now was Mark of the Wild, which it's a really good buff to have, but the Moonfire and Rejuvenation are looking pretty good right now. Before taking on the final quest in the starting zone, I decided I wanted to train those 2 spells so I'd be a bit more prepared. The final area of the zone is compact and has hostile enemies, so I didn't want to take any chances and go in unprepared. I got the 10 cougar pelts for the next quest, found a new robe, and I still couldn't afford my 2 new spells. That's when I picked up 2 new quests. One that would give me a staff that's twice as good as my current one, and another one that would give me a chest piece with more than 4 times the armor of my current robe. Getting the new chest piece meant getting some boar meat and some snouts, which I finally had room for now that I had 2 bag slots unlocked. After getting my cool new vest and training Moonfire and Rejuvenation, it was time to go to the most dangerous area in the starting zone. The mobs over there are red, which means they're hostile and they'll attack you unprovoked. And ultimately, it was pretty uneventful, except for a close call when an enemy spawned after I pulled the main quest NPC. Because I had to grind mobs so long to get my second bag slot, I was level 6 at this point, so I was a bit higher level than usual. I went back to camp, turned in the quest, and I got myself my huge staff upgrade. 7 to 11 damage. Big bonk. And with that, I'd finished all the quests in the starting zone, and it was time to head to Bloodhoof Village. I hit level 7 on my way out, got to the village, and grabbed all the quests that I could. Almost immediately, one of the quests was ruled out, because I needed 4 items to complete it, which would mean that I'd have to be at least level 15 so I could carry everything. So I abandoned it. The first quest I decided on was the Rite of Vision, because it was perfect for my limited 2 bag slots that I had. This guy wanted me to go get a couple of pine cones and rocks so that I could see some sort of vision. My other 2 options were the Dwarven Digging quest, which is in a densely packed corner of Mulgore, and it has some mobs as high as level 9. My other choice was Sharing the Land, which makes you kill a bunch of gnolls. I didn't feel ready for that quest either, because the gnolls are all packed tightly together, and they pull aggro off of each other. Many hardcore runs have been ended early by these 2 quests, so I decided to put them off until I was a bit more prepared. So I found a couple of pine cones and a few rocks, and I went back to do this ritual. This guy made me some soup and told me to drink it, which for some reason took me about 30 seconds to do. After I drank it, I saw this blue ghost wolf show up in front of me, and it told me to follow it. Because I'm an elite WoW gamer, I knew that I didn't actually need to follow the wolf the whole way, and I could run directly to the cave. However, I had to clear mobs out of the way, so he caught up to me anyways. When I got to the guy in the cave, he told me to go to some red rocks, but I decided I would go and get some wolf paws and bird feet for some guy back in the village. Seems like this guy really likes feet for some reason. While I was doing that, I got my first green drop, which, even though I couldn't use it because it was an axe and I'm a druid, I was able to sell it for almost 3 silver. I got the rest of the bird feet and took it back to the guy in the village. He combined the wolf and the bird feet to make some sort of totem, and he told me to take it back to the well I was at earlier and cleanse it. Before I left, I decided I would train some spells. I chose to get Entangling Roots, which would let me trap enemies in place in case I ever needed to run. And then I got Thorns, which causes 3 damage to enemies when they hit me. Nothing crazy, but every little bit helps. I went back to the well, did the ritual, and headed back to the village for a well-deserved rest. And with this, the first episode of Quanawamu's adventure comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode, and I'm excited to see where this series goes. I'm uploading and creating these as I go, so there's always a chance that my character will die in the middle of the series. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys later.